Lzman Hazeh on page Shin Nun Gimel. So we'll read again. I think we did some of this, but it started this Lzman Hazeh. So he has something on that. He has a nun vav on this. He says Laman b'neknasim b'zer anpen Hazeh. What's Hazeh? Hainu lachagat shalo umisham lanok. So how did he get Hagat out of that? Nun vav in the HAKAVANOT. He says like this, and we'll look at number Yud Test after this, has some information. I think it might be good for us. Lzman niknasim b'zer Lzman v'niknasim b'zer anpen. Hazeh hainu l'chagat shalo umisham lanok. So he's boyer ad kan. Let me see if I can get this worked out a little bit better for me. Just a second. Okay. He says, is boyer ad kan hamshachas hamochin le'ava ve'iba b'tevis shehachiyana v'kiyamana v'higiyana. Ba'ata Makifim shenimshach hamochin ma'elu d'zer anpin. Now these mochin came into zer anpin from these three words. V'zechet mekave b'tevis Lzman. So here we're looking at the word Lzman. What's pshat in that? Yisachas shenimshach hamochin d'zer anpin. V'tevis hazeh mekave. This is the kavana. As sedach hamshacha b'zah v'chanosin shafa zeh l'nuk. And then this is ultimately bringing it to the nuk. And he says, Shepetechila, he said, Nimshach and Amochin Hagat the Zer Anpen, and then Achavat is the process that bring from Zer Anpen, the Yisod the Zer Anpen, and Misham Nimshach and Alamalchus. Now, there's more than one way for the Shephet to come into the Nukva. The upper, I'm thinking that I thought he's saying that it's going through the opening in the chest of Zer Anpen. Here he says it comes down to the Malchus, it comes down to the Yisod of Zer Anpen, and then he brings it into the Nuk, and that's Lashon Yichud, I think. Let's look at number Yud Test that's down below. Look, and when a person drinks, so this is where we or maybe there's a little bit more, I'm sorry, let's go back up to the top. Now, you're going to, you said the prayers, and now you're going to drink. This is a whole other story here. What's these chasadim de Leah? So I remember Rabbi Memram saying that Leah is not a partzuf, and we see that Leah acts like a partzuf sometimes, at least right here. Chelki chasadim de Leah, Derek Garon Zer Anpin, and that's where Leah is, the top of Leah is located. Lor penimim de Yaakov and Rachel, into the or penimim of Yaakov and Rachel. Yaakov and Rachel is a phrase that he uses for Malchus. So the Chedek HaGavuros, the Leah, so that's the Chasadim. Let me just read it again. Ogashe Yishta, now you're drinking. You're actually bringing the wine into yourself. L'cham shech chelke HaChasadim, to bring in portions of the Chasadim de Leah. Derek Garam Zer Anpen, through the Garam of Zer Anpen, Penimi de Yaakov Barachel, to see what that means. V'chelek HaGavuros de Leah, so that's where the Chasadim. And so, first of all, we have to accept that there's Chasadim and Gavuros and Leah, that Leah therefore has 10 spheros, and that she has a das. So, V'chelek HaGavuros de Leah, Yotzim Derek HaPeh, they come out through the mouth of Zer Anpen, and they become an or makif to Yaakov of Rachel. So let's see what the HAKAVANOT says, and then we'll go to number Yud Test, which has a little bit of information in there. And he says, Kashayishta. Okay, so let's go down here to the lighter print, where it says, the Hine bepesach niknasim parts of Leah the Tochazer Anpen. So he says that this is something maybe I didn't know. What happens here? What happened to Leah? So Leah, her parts of actually goes into Zer Anpen. The parts of Rachel omedet bebekomo bechutz Zer Anpen, so she is in the back of Zer Anpen, in the place where she's always in. He says chutz the Zer Anpen, never goes into Zer Anpen. So he said, what went into Zer Anpen? Leah. B'hinech ba'oros hamegiyim l'chalka shel Leah, so the lights that actually go into the portion of Leah. a mekavin b'shtiyas hakos l'haknisa d'socha zer anpin. So he says this what is actually happening when you drink that kos. You're bringing in, let me see, he says, so the lights that normally go into the portion from the, let's say, from the neck downwards to the Hazeh, which belongs to Leah, they're all going to be go, so he says that you're bringing them into Zeranpin. So that's your kavana. Mekavin, you should have the kavana there, that you're drinking the kos and you're bringing the parts of it. I'm trying to think in my mind, what happens when you remove Leah from the equation? Leah was moving down on the backside of Zeranpin, and the origin of the oros that are going to go into, I guess, should connect it to Rachel, but now it's going into Zeranpin. So it's what goes in, actually, the chesadim of Leah. They go into Zah ad makom shalo until they reach the place of his chest. V'yotzim misham the makom Yaakov Arel, and from that place they go out from to the place of Yaakov and Rachel. Okay, so he says Yaakov and Rachel, which are both located, one in the front, one in the back of Zeranpin. Or penimim, and they become an or penimim for them. Now what about the gevuras of Leah? Yordim ad garam de Zeranpin, so they go until they reach the throat of Zeranpin, which is they're located in the throat, right behind the throat. So let me see his words of V'chelek gevur shel Leah Yordim, they go down. So that means it must be come from someplace up above the garam. Ad Garm de Zeranpin. V'sham yotzin the chutz, then there they go out. V'yordin the makom Yaakov Rachel, na'asim lechem or makif, but they're on the outside, and they go and they become a makif. Okay, so I'm a little concerned about the word yordim ad Garm de Zah. So it means what? That these are up above the Garm de Zah. If he says yordim, he didn't say enter in, not miknasim, he doesn't say that. V'sham yotzin the chutz, and then from that place, when they're inside of the throat as they're anpin, they go out through his mouth, the makom Yaakov Rachel, v'nasadachem or makif, and that makes an or makif for them. Now, why do we need to do all of this, and what's going on? Let's look at number Yud Tes down below. So what you do here is you're going to pour down the chesadim de Leah derech garon zer anpin, through the path of zer anpin l'or penimi de Yaakov Rachel, until it reaches the or penimi. So he says kiyisha, that's when you're drinking. You're drinking it. It's going through your mouth, through your throat, and down into your body. L'or penimi de Yaakov Rachel. So the gevuras of Leah go out through the mouth of Zer Anpin or makit the Yaakov Rachel. So the Shefa writes, Kamosha his bar la'el b'Hakdama. Now apparently I didn't read the Hakdama, so let's see what it says. Abir, who the explanation is like this: the Bishar Gavanos, I'm sorry, and on Drush Daled, we can see it over there. Kosev Arav Dimimei Pesach, that during the days of Pesach, Miss Batelis parts of Leah. So the parts of is no longer functioning. This parts of Omeda Bekol Oshana Achre Resha de Zer Anpin. Now he's saying, he didn't say it can become the neck of Zer Anpin. He says it's on the back of the head of Zer Anpin. Maybe that's the same thing. And they are going to disappear, or they're going to be misvato, no longer needed. So therefore, when we're having a yichud in Pesach, because Leah is not there anymore. That during Pesach, Leah is inside of Zer Anpin, not on his back. Amnam, parts of Leah Kashemis batelis, and he's using that word which becomes as a parts of a functioning parts of is no longer its batel. Niknasim mamochin shalol so reshet is their anpin. So then the mochin go into the head as their anpin. I guess you're talking about the neck there. Is a very pressurized area, he says, which is very narrow. So he says, so then they pour and they go down into their anpin. So that's what a question that I had before. I thought that, I guess he means into the goof of the zeranpin. What does he mean by they going down? That's a question I had before. Derech agoran shalo, and they go down into zeranpin. I guess that's a way to translate it into his throat. But Yoredis HaChazeh de Zer Anpin, and they keep going down until they reach the chest of Zer Anpin, V'sham Yotzes Makom HaChazeh de Zer Anpin, and then they go out from the chest of Zer Anpin, V'nekneses the Selch Rosh Rachel, and they go into the Rosh of Rachel. So here's where Leah, instead of going into Rachel and combining into Rachel, she leaves the whole area, the whole backside of Zer Anpin, and she goes into Zer Anpin through his neck, which is now what did we learn from the fact that it's a narrow pressurized area? But that's what it is. They become more condensed. And also another thing is, I thought that he said in the Tiv that they go down into the Yesod of Zer Anpin, and then they go into the Nook, into Rachel, or which he calls Yaakov and Rachel. So he said, "There's Zer Anpin Niknasa the Selch Rosh Rachel," and they go into the head of Rachel, whose head is located at the Chaz of Zer Anpin. And Makabelas Rachel Mochim Kefulim, and Rachel, as a result of that, gets double Mochim. In other words, she had their own Mochim. Amna Beberege Didasa Bekorm to Zer Anpin, as it's going down through the throat of Zer Anpin. Kevin Shachagora Hu Makum Sar, and let's go back to that question I just had there. Bokeas, as Hagaron the Zer Anpin, it breaks out of the throat of Zer Anpin, the Yotzes Minute Pad the Zer Anpin, and since the mouth is associated, I guess, with the top, I'm trying to think where it is. Okay, so it's really associated with the back of the neck, is right behind it, behind the mouth. They go out through the mouth of Zer Anpin. So then what happens? Or makif the Rachel, and it becomes a makif for Rachel. Goes out, and I guess it goes down. So it's a lot of different things here. The SHAAR chelke Leah, so all the rest of Leah, the Hazeh Zer Anpin, all the rest of it goes down into the Hazeh Zer Anpin. Now, I just want to read this one more time because I'm getting a little lost in one of the pieces. He talked about the Chasadim, and he talked about the Gevuros. So he said, "V'sham Yotze," sometimes the top here, Yotze b'makom b'chazed ezeron, and in nachlis Rosh Rachel, and Mekabelas Rachel Mochin Kefulim. So what did she get? And so the V'chein Nimshech the Yarden that's all there Anpin Derek Hagoron. Okay, anyway, V'chein Nimshech Hagoron Hu Makom Tsar. It's narrow, condenses everything. Bokaz as a garment, it can't stay there, so it breaks out through the throat of Zer Anpin, and it comes out from the mouth of Zer Anpin. The Naasib or Makif the Rachel. Now, I was originally talking about, I think, the Gevuros. The SHAAR Chelke Leah, all the rest of Yediv Sheyordim the Chazah de Zer Anpin, they go into the Chazah of Zer Anpin. The Yotzim Min Chazah the Rosh Rachel, and they go from that place into the Rosh of Rachel. V'chem Naasim Mochim penimim the Rachel. So now we have two different kinds of lines. And I'm thinking that he means one for the Chasadim and one for the Gevuros that are inside of Rachel. The name said that Rachel and Makabel Ha'arush Leah, so now it comes out like this, that Rachel now has the lights of Leah, some of the lights of Leah inside of her, and some of the lights of Leah on the outside, and the Makif. And it makes these illuminations. Gam Mochim Makifim, Begam Mochim penimim, and it has that's the Haros. V'hizbar sham b'shar HAKAVANOT. So over there, if we looked over there, the zecha kavana shtiyas akosis. So this is when you're drinking this. That's your idea. The haknis as a oros leah the zecha guva the Zer Anpin. Now he said kosos. He's not just talking about the first one. That every single time. So that would be an obvious question that I would have is if you're drinking 4 cups of wine, it sounds like when he said it first that they all go, that they, in one way or another, they go into Zera Anpin. Some become a Makif, that's the Gavuros, and some become a penimim. Once that happens, I would think that Leah would be gone. But he says that every time you come back to the next coast, that seems to be what he's saying, the plural. Hakni says as ha'aros Leah v'toch gufa de zer anpin, to bring those aros into the body of zer v'no hamshechem the rachel and bring them to rachel. Amnon lochik his bar b'divrei Rava, so we could see though that that is not explained in the words of Rav Ezech Halokim Yotza. What are the portions? She Yotza min ha'peh. Let me see, is that the word min? Yeah. Min ha'peh, that come out from the mouth. The Na'asa or Makif, and they become Makif. He didn't really say that. I thought he did, but never Na'asa or penimim. I thought he was talking about Chasadim and Gavuros. So he explains it in SHAAR Kaf Hey, Drush Best. Is a Be'inyan HaChasadim Gavuros. And this is what he says over there. Zelashono. Kavar Hodaticho, so we've already let you know. Ki chamisha chasadim hem niknasin desoch aguf vehem or penimim. Okay, so maybe he mentioned that before. That's why I thought he said amnam chamisha gavuros hem pogos beridasam alagorim bepeh. So they strike as they're going down into the throat of the throat alagorim bepeh. Now that's a hard word phrase, and with the I guess he means from the goron, it goes into the goron, and then it comes out the mouth. V'yotzos b'sham l'chutz, and it comes from that place, it goes out, v'sham na'asa or maki b'chutz b'zayin tachtainus, and then becomes to a maki for the zat. The zat, of course, is where, in Zeranpin, is of course where Leah, where Rachel is located, and Yaakov, Adkan l'shona. So that's an explanation over there. So I'm still stuck with the thought that he said previously that they go down to the Yesod of Zeranpin, but maybe it also is, maybe it's 2 different things. I don't know, but he's explaining it. Nimsa the Gamba Indian Leah mis Halkim Kach. So we say that in Leah, they get divided like this. The Hedach Avur Shal Leah, Boki Mapeh, they break out into the mouth. The mouth breaks out. I just don't like this phrase, boking my pad. They break out. The mouth breaks out. That's really what it sounds like. So anyway, there's a breakout at the mouth of Zeran. Pen v'yotz in the chutz. Na'asim or makif the Rachel. They become a makif. They go down to the place of Rachel. And the area of Yaakov and Rachel, he mentioned, Rachel. They come into Zeranpin, v'yotze b'makam Hazeh el Rosh Rachel, and they come out from the place of the chest of which is where the Rosh of Rachel is located. The Na'asala or penimim, and they become an or penimim. Let me just say, I think of most of it. Okay, that's the Chasadim. Masha Kazvov come the Yaakov and Rachel. So he has this question: why does it say Yaakov and Rachel? We're talking about Rachel. So Habibir who the Avsha Hizkir Harab the Var of Iraq the Rachel Makabala Oroselo. There recovers Shas. So he says when the Shash become Makom Lakalu parts of Yaakov and Rachel Ke'echad. So he sees, we've seen this in other places, that Yaakov and Rachel are considered to be one element. Sheshnechem Nekroim Yachad parts of a nook. And so how do you get that? You have a Yaakov, Eli the Yaakov, who Chelek Hamas Shebanuk. So now we understand the nook as a ma and a ben. V'Rachel Chelek HaBen Shebanuk. And Rachel is the ben part. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what's happening here as you're drinking the wine. So that's a kavanah that's not so hard to remember for me. And let's see that when you're drinking the wine, you're bringing in the chasadim and the gavuros of Leah. And the other idea is that Leah becomes nullified at this point. And I'm not sure what that means. Like, what does it mean? We're building Rachel is what we're doing, which is Malchus. Okay, so now we're going to go over here, just looking at this phase of I like to look at, there are 1, 2, 3, I think there's 20 K Yuds. So I don't know what that does for you. So let's read up above and try to understand it. So now we're going to wash the hands. That's where we're at right now, orchats, washing the hands. This is the washing without the bracha. He says the kavana should be like this: Yakave lahamshik yak, Yud and K, the Av. Okay, so we're coming from Av. The Gadol Sheni of Gadol Sheni, the Ima, of the Gadol Sheni, the Ima, should be Chochma the Zer Anpin, which is located now in the Chochma the Zer Anpin, the Chotz Kli Penimim, the Gufa the Zal, and the purpose is to wash out, to clean out, Kli Penimi, the Gufa the Zer Anpin, the Kli of Penimius is Zer Anpin. Now, he means, I guess, is Zer Anpin and his Penimius. Of Ridasa Maka Yud Pamim, and as they're going out, you have a striking of Yud Vav Dal is the number 20, really. Pamim, not Pamim, you have 20 times K Yud. Again, he says of Ridasa Maka, the Yud strikes, he says 20 times. I'm not sure what he means, but hey. A mispashet misod rochots, and it's puzzled with those rochots. Rochots is a number 298, and he says that of a shorish shnei osius yak, and the root of the two letters yud kain the sha'arim b'chochma that remain in chochma. This makes here are the 20 k yuds. Up above he called it a yud k. Here he calls it a k yud. So let me see what we can make out of this. Number Nod Ches. Number Nod Ches says, Yakavin Lahamshek Yak, that's the Yud K, the Av, the Gadol Sheni, the Ima, Shebechochma, the Zer Anpin, which is going to go into the Chochma of Zer Anpin, the Rechlotz Kli Penimi, the Gufa, the Zah. Okay? So he says this Rechitza, so we try to understand what's going on in this Rechitza. But Rechitza Zu, our concentration should be to pour down Gadol Sheni shall muach hachachma shekuvar niknas the chachma dezer anpen bekiddush. When you said kiddush, it already came in the l'chotz, and so it's there. And so the idea of this rochotz is the l'chotz al yado as a kelim apenimi dezer anpen migigule mitzrayim. So he said that he never called Sphira. So he says from every single Sphira, Yesh Losha Kalim, there are 3 different Kalim, as we know, Kalim Penimim, Imsoim, and Itonim. So what happens when we're in Mitzrayim? Mitzrayim, Chutz B'mashin Estalko L'mochin Benezer Anpin, besides the fact that the Mochin have left the Mochin, Chutz Mimashin Estalka L'mochin Benezer Anpin, Ba'anat Srichim Ata L'hamshek as Kol Hamochin L'zer Anpin, and now we have to bring him back as if he means, I don't know what he said. He says, V'kelim Mitzrayim, V'hine Begalus Mitzrayim, Chutz Mimashin Estalka L'mochin Benezer. So he said that for the goof of the Zah, the Mochin left. And it went up into the throat of Zer Anpin, or the back of the neck of Zer Anpin. So now we have to pour down all of the mochin to the Zer Anpin again. Nidram od begalos Mitzrayim. So this is completed. Nikran cause od begalos Mitzrayim. Shekubayochel nidbaku bekli hazer Anpin mituma Mitzrayim. So Zer Anpin is covered over, or his clinging to him, are the Mochim of Mitzrayim, the tomb of Mitzrayim. But now the Mochim are coming back into Zer Anpin Leil HaSeder. So now we're bringing in Rechitza and Tahara into his Kalim. So now through this moach hachachma, which is coming into Zer Anpin, but this concept, but the rochots, the rochots, as a kelim penimim shells are banpin. What are you cleaning them from? I guess from the attachment of the kali from Mitzrayim. The lechein nikras rachitza, and for this reason it's called rachitza. Sharok is kabayachal as kli hazeh. What's happening is you're actually washing, as it's possible to say, the kelim is there anpin metumas Mitzrayim. They will come through this concept of rochsa, of washing. So that is going to happen. He just throws that in. But let me read it again. So we have the three kalim, and they're cleansed by this. Number nun tes, and maybe we can get number nun tes in here. Of ridos maka, as it's going down, that's his phrase here. As it goes down, it strikes the letter maka yud pa mim behei yud hey yud, and he shows it to us like that. The mispasha mispar rachot, and he says that if you add it up, mispasha mispar rachot, which, as I said, 298. V'shor shnei osias yak, and then the root of those two yaks, you're going to get to the number 300, which is the revuah, not the revuah, it's the miloi of Elokim. I don't know what this means over here. Of Elokim with the miloi of Yudin in the hay. So he said, let me read it. V'shor shnei osias yak. He said, Nish'arim b'chachma, they remain in chachma. Makuvanim sham yud k, and there you have a concept of a yud and k shel shem av, in the name of. B'hakos a yud alahei, when the yud strikes the hey yud. The hainu yud vav dalad is the gematria esrim. Makfeilim osach behe yud, so they double it. This hey yud, which comes to be the number 15. The hainu she'osim esrim pa'amim chamisha aser, so we have 20 times 15. Arei olam b'mizbah shlosh meos. What do we know from shlosh meos? And b'tok shlosh meos elu nish'arim shnayim b'sharshim. Two remain in the root. B'chachma dezer anpin, and the chachma dezer anpin. V'chashar, the other 390. What is it? What the other? V'chashar shehu mispah rochats, which is the 298. Yura the kalim penimim dezer anpin, the rochsach megilule, from the gilulim, from the gilul, the idolatry and the klipa of Mitzrayim. I guess that's it for today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Friday, I'm supposed to go to Pesach, and it doesn't look great, because I got a late flight or later flight to get there before Shabbos and everything, and the backups. So I'll let you know but I'm planning on going if it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, call to Zep. Bye-bye.